Japanese companies are increasingly pulling out of China, signaling a real shift in the business landscape. The latest example is Yakult, the Japanese beverage giant, which is closing its first factory in China. On October 20th, Yakult's headquarters in Japan announced a business restructuring of its Guangzhou operations. As part of this process, the company will close the first Guangzhou Yakult factory on November 30th, transferring its production gradually to the second Guangzhou factory and the Foshan factory. This is Yakult's second factory closure in China within a year. In December last year, it shut down its Shanghai plant, relocating production to Tianjin and Wuxi. The company said the move was part of a restructuring effort to enhance production efficiency, consolidate resources, and boost sales performance. According to Yakult's official website, the company entered the Chinese market in 2002, launching under the Yakult brand in Guangzhou, where its first factory began production in June of that year. It expanded to Shanghai in 2003, opened a second Guangzhou factory in Hangpu District in 2014, and established the Foshan factory in Sanshui District in 2019. Yakult's daily sales in China grew from 60,000 bottles in 2002 to 6.98 million in 2021, with the Guangzhou plant accounting for 2.82 million bottles, 50 times its initial output. In the first half of this year, Yakult China's daily sales dropped to 2.67 million bottles, with 1.8 million coming from Guangzhou Yakult, bringing the total to 4.46 million bottles, marking a significant decline from its peak. Yakult's factory closure reflect a broader pullback of Japanese investment in China, raising the possibility of a complete withdrawal, something already seen among many Japanese companies. In August, Tokyo-based Fujikura Limited announced that its wholly owned subsidiary, Fujikura Electronics Shanghai Limited, would close its factory and begin employee compensation procedures. Many employees later shared screenshots of their compensation packages on social media. One worker named Wu, who had been with the company for 7 years and 10 months, received 65,774 yuan, about $9,200. This amount was slightly above the N+1 standard set by China's labor contract law, which entitles workers to 1 month's salary for each year worked plus an additional month's salary. The company also provided additional allowances. Many online users praised the gesture, with one comment reading, "Foreign firms may leave, but at least they leave with dignity. They pay wages on time and don't force people out without compensation, unlike many local companies." Fujikura Electronics entered the Chinese market in 2001 with a registered capital of $10.5 million. After more than 2 decades of operation, it is now exiting the market. The company mainly produces electronic wiring system, automotive connectors, and communication racks, serving as a key supplier to both the automotive and telecommunication sectors. In recent years, Japanese companies in both the automotive and electronics industry have been steadily retreating from China. Automakers such as Mitsubishi, Toyota, Honda, and Nissan, as well as manufacturers like Konica, Minolta, Nippon Steel, and Bridgestone, along with tech companies including Panasonic, Sony, and Toshiba, have scaled back or exited their China operations. According to data from Nikkei News, in December 2024, Japan's direct investment in China fell by 15% in 2023 and continues to decline. Data from Japan's Ministry of Finance and the Bank of Japan shows that in 2024, Japan's net investment in China was about 510 billion yen, equivalent to about $3.34 billion. That's a decrease of roughly 60% from its 2017 peak of 1.3 trillion yen, equivalent to about $8.51 billion. A Japanese Chamber of Commerce and Industry in China survey of 1,760 Japanese firms found that 64% believe China's economic conditions have worsened, up from 60% in the previous survey. Among them, 44% plan to cut or halt investment in China altogether. More than 40% of Japanese companies expressed dissatisfaction with China's business environment, with some citing concerns for the safety of their employees and families. Japanese nationals are also leaving. According to Japan's Ministry of Foreign Affairs, as of October 1st, 2024, there were 97,538 Japanese residents living in China for more than 3 months. The first time in 20 years, the number has fallen below 100,000. Nikkei Asia report that over the past 12 years, the Japanese population in Beijing has dropped by about 60%, and in Dalian, by about 50%. Veteran journalist and former Taipei bureau chief of Japan's Sankei Shimbun, Akio Yaita, recalled that more than a decade ago, as a correspondent in Beijing, he regularly reported on major Japanese companies entering China. Many small and medium-sized business owners even flew to Beijing to seek investment opportunities. Today, most of those companies have either left or are planning to leave. He noted that for foreign firms, China's business environment has become extremely difficult. Yaita added that beyond safety concerns, Japanese companies are increasingly uneasy about geopolitical tensions. The US is advancing policies to block China's access to advanced semiconductor technologies and urging allies, including Japan, to align with these efforts. The risks are high, the attitudes are strained, and the returns are poor. Of course, Japanese firms are choosing to stay away. In contrast, Japanese investments in the United States is rising. The US is now the largest destination for new Japanese investment. In 2024, actual investment there totaled 33.9 trillion yen, around 40% of Japan's global investment of 89.1 trillion yen. After accounting for repatriated funds, net investment in the US reached 11.9 trillion yen, the highest among all countries. This trend reflects both the US's large economic scale and steady population growth, which continue to attract Japanese investors, and the broader global shift led by the US towards moving investment out of China and into America. US firms such as IBM have also been downsizing in China, announcing the closure of their R&D center in 2025. Microsoft and Amazon have significantly reduced their AI research teams in China, while Gallup and Vanguard both closed their China offices in 2023. The US corporate exodus began during President Trump's first term and has only accelerated in his second. As a US ally, Japan is following the same trajectory with its own accelerated withdrawal. Looking ahead, Japan's new government is expected to align even more closely with the US on economic and strategic policy. On October 21st, Japan made history as Sanae Takaichi became the country's first female prime minister. Shortly after her election, Takaichi immediately began preparing for a meeting with US President Donald Trump. In a historic moment for Japanese politics, Takaichi, president of the Liberal Democratic Party, was officially confirmed as Japan's 104th prime minister through a vote in both houses of the Diet. In her first press conference as prime minister, Takaichi pledged to elevate Japan-US relations to a new level. On October 28th, she is set to meet President Trump in Japan to discuss strengthening the bilateral alliance, implementing the tariff agreement, and other key issues. According to Reuters, President Trump is expected to arrive in Japan on October 27th, where he will meet Emperor Naruhito and Prime Minister Takaichi. It will be his first visit since winning re-election. The meeting will build on the agreement reached under former Prime Minister Shigeru Ishiba, in which Japan pledged to invest $550 billion in the United States in exchange for reduced tariffs on Japanese automobiles. Reports indicate that Takaichi's cabinet is finalizing a procurement plan, a U.S. goods package, to present during the meeting. The deal is expected to include items such as American soybeans, liquefied natural gas, and Ford F-150 pickup trucks. Chief Cabinet Secretary Minoru Kihara announced the plan at a press conference, confirming that the Japan-US summit is being arranged for October 28. Strengthening the bilateral alliance and promoting a free and open Indo-Pacific will be the key themes. At 64, Takaichi is widely seen as the political heir to former Prime Minister Shinzo Abe. Her career has been shaped by Abe's influence in both economic and foreign policy, particularly his focus on strengthening the Japan-US alliance and viewing Taiwan as a key partner in Japan's security. On China, Takaichi is expected to continue Abe's firm stance against the Chinese Communist Party. Researcher at Taiwan's Institute for National Defense and Security Research, Ming-Shi Shen, told overseas media that Takaichi is a staunch right-wing and anti-communist lawmaker. Many of her policy follow Abe's Indo-Pacific strategy, which aims to strengthen cooperation among Japan, the US, India, and Australia to counter China. Unless Beijing changes course, Japan-China relations are likely to become even more strained. Taiwanese economist Wu Jialong noted that the trajectory of Japan-China relations will largely follow that of US-China relations. If US-China tensions intensify, Japan's position towards China will likely become tougher as well. In line with the Trump administration's hardline approach towards China, Takaichi is expected to cooperate with Washington in curbing the Chinese Communist Party's origin washing and red infiltration in Japan. For instance, Chinese companies may establish entities in Japan to bypass US export restrictions. Japan is therefore expected to tighten controls on Chinese students, immigrants, and investments. A recent Kyodo News poll found that 53.6% of respondents believe Japan-China relations will deteriorate under Takaichi's leadership. At a regular press conference on October 21st, Chinese Foreign Ministry spokesperson Guo Jiakun said Takaichi's election was Japan's internal affair. However, he added that China hopes Japan will adhere to the full political documents and honor its commitments on issues such as history and Taiwan. China's state media have generally portrayed Takaichi negatively, labeling her the female version of Abe, a right-wing conservative who is openly critical of China. They note her repeated visits to the Yasukuni Shrine as a cabinet minister and her advocacy for revising Japan's pacifist constitution. Her strong stance on foreign and defense policy is expected to challenge bilateral relations. Geoeconomic analyst Wesley Alexander Hill wrote in Forbes that Takaichi, known for her hawkish stance towards China, often criticizes Beijing's military buildup and economic coercion. She has called for tighter control over key technologies to prevent their transfer to China. Her strong pro-Taiwan position has raised concerns in Beijing. He added that with the Komeito Party replaced by the more right-leaning Japan Innovation Party, Takaichi is likely to steer the Liberal Democratic Party further to the right, potentially reshaping Japan's political landscape. However, a professor at Keio University Faculty of Policy Management, Ken Jimbo, told Singaporean Chinese language newspaper Lianhe Zhaobao that while Japan-China relations will undoubtedly face tests under Takaichi, economic interdependence and regional stability may compel her to avoid open confrontation early in her term. In practice, her rhetoric may be firm, but her actions measured. Professor Roger Liu of National Sun Yat-sen University Asia-Pacific Affairs Program said at a policy forum that Takaichi views China's technological infiltration as a central challenge to Japan's economic security. Under her leadership, Japan will align more closely with the U.S. friend-shoring strategy and restructure its industrial supply chains. She is also expected to pursue a dual-track approach towards China, combining dialogue with tighter control. Even U.S. media have noted that Takaichi's election signals a policy shift in Japan. The Washington Post described her as a hardline conservative and nationalist, predicting her rise will push Japanese politics further to the right. Takaichi's cabinet lineup has been announced. Chief Cabinet Secretary Minoru Kihara, Foreign Ministry Toshimitsu Motegi, Defense Minister Shinjiro Koizumi, Minister of Internal Affairs and Communications Yoshimasa Hayashi, and Minister of Economy, Trade and Industry Roisei Akazawa, who previously led Japan's trade negotiations with the US. 2 women were also appointed: Finance Minister Satsuki Katayama and Minister of Economic Security Kimi Ononda. The cabinet's average age is 59.37. One of the new cabinet members, Kimi Onoda, recently revealed that Chinese-made robotic vacuum cleaners were being used in Japan's parliament, highlighting her firm stance against China. Onoda warned that these cleaning robots, which roam throughout parliamentary offices, could pose risk of data collection and information leaks. She questioned whether devices that roam freely and record images everywhere could truly ensure national security. Onoda said she contacted several government departments about the purchase and oversight of the devices, but received replies such as, "It's not our domain," or "We don't know." She later wrote on social media that national security should be a shared responsibility among all government officials, regardless of departmental boundaries. Now serving as Japan's Minister of Economic Security, Onoda will oversee immigration and national security matters. At an October 23rd press conference, she noted rising cases of foreign nationals committing crimes or abusing welfare benefits, which have fueled public frustration. She pledged stricter enforcement against foreigners who violate regulations. Writer Cao Chanqing commented on social media that both Takaichi and Onoda are known for their strong nationalist views. Takaichi has stated that Japan will not accept Islamist or illegal immigrants, stressing that to maintain Japan's current order, false refugees must be deported. US media have dubbed Onoda the deportation minister. An ex-user under the account name Rika noted that Onoda was born in the US to an American father and Japanese mother. Moving to Japan at age 1, she has publicly said, "What's wrong with being patriotic? What's wrong with loving Japan? If you hate Japan, then leave Japan." Some online comments said Chinese nationals in Japan must be trembling, while others added that those working for the Chinese Communist Party in Japan, this new government is a major blow. Another user wrote, "This Japanese government truly feels like Trump's. Only when America and Japan are strong can the Chinese Communist Party shrink and the world be safe." Takaichi's new administration is expected to accelerate Japan's corporate withdrawal from China, with more companies likely to relocate under the government's policies. In fact, most of Japan's investment in China have already been withdrawn or redirected to Southeast Asia. Taiwanese economist Wu Jialong noted that Japan's decoupling from China is nearly complete. As many Japanese firms have abandoned their factories and left, Japan is now expected to deepen cooperation with Taiwan and the United States, further solidifying this economic separation.